right, let's talk a little bit more about subtraction equations, and then we're going to try some multiplication ones. So we're going to be starting here on page 9 of the Unit 6 packet. I'll give you a second to get there. So in class, we did most of this, but there's a couple questions here that we're going to try out related to subtraction. Again, if you wanted to try these on your own, you could. But we're going to try some of these together. So one thing I want to remind you of is this. When you write a subtraction equation, and I want you to write this down, it's going to be, in 6th grade, it's going to look like this. A variable minus a part equals another part. And again, it doesn't matter what order those parts go in, because you're going to get the same answer for your variable anyway. All right, let's try this one here about Catherine. Catherine studied 1 25/100 hours for her science test. This was a half or 5/10 hours less than she studied for her algebra test. Write and solve a subtraction equation to find how long she studied for her algebra test. So again, this last statement kind of tells us what we're looking for, how long she studied for her algebra test. So we're going to use a let statement. We're going to let, m equal number of minutes Catherine, I'm going to call her Kath, studied for algebra. Okay. So Catherine studied a certain amount of time for algebra. We don't know how long at this point, but we do know that's what we're looking for, because that's what it's asking us to find. So to write this equation, we'll start out with m, because with subtraction equations, variable minus part equals part. Now, m is the number of minutes she studied for the algebra test. If we subtracted 5/10 from m, we would get the amount of time it took her to study for the science test. Again, if we switch those numbers, we'd get the same answer, which is nice. Doesn't matter what order the parts go in here. Both of these are parts of the total. M is kind of like the total. All right, so what we're going to do is try to get m by itself. So we're going to add 1/2 to both sides to get rid of the minus a half. We're going to make sure to line up the decimal points. I might annex a 0 there just to help line them up. And then we'll cancel out the negative 5/10 and the positive 5/10. Those cancel out. And we're left with m equals, let's add them up. 5, 7, bring down the decimal point. So 1 75/100 hours would be the label. Well, let's check to see if that's right. So 3-step check. M is algebra minus a half an hour equals science test. We got 1 75/100 minus, I'm going to write that 5/10 is 500. Again, that doesn't change the value, it just maybe helps me subtract this a little easier. So I'm going to think about this like money for a second. I have $1.75 and you subtract 50 cents. That would be the same thing as $1.25. So I am confident that both sides are equal to 1 25/100. Now, the answer would be she studied the algebra test for an hour and 75/100 hours, or 1 75/100 hours. There isn't any, I wish there was room to write that answer. There will be on the next one, but for now, we just kind of have to leave it like that because there's not really any room here. I apologize to write the rest of the answer. But that's our solution here. That's how long she studied for the algebra test. All right, this one's a little tricky. Alejandra spent her birthday money on a video game that cost $24, a controller for $13, and a memory card for $16. The total tax was $3. Write and solve a subtraction equation to find how much money Alejandra gave the cashier if she received $4 in change. Now, we want to know We're trying to find how much money she gave the cashier. So that's our let statement. We're going to let A maybe equal money or money. I'm going to abbreviate Alejandra. I'll put the J in there. Alejandra gave cashier. So what's tricky about this is that we actually have to do a little bit of adding before we write the equation. So she spent, and I'm going to do it off the side right here. She spent $24 on a video game, plus $13 for the controller, plus the $16 for the memory card, plus tax. So let's add that all up here. This will be the total amount of what it cost for those 4 items, or those 3 items, I should say. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 6 is 16. 1 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So the total cost of these things was $56. She also got $4 in change. So what she started with, which is A, that's the variable, that goes first. If we subtract 4, or actually if we subtract 56, you can subtract either one, we should get 4. The amount she gave the cashier minus what it cost, she got $4 in change. So that's a subtraction equation that will help us find how much she got back. All right, so we'll do our little barrier here. We're going to have to add 56 to take it away from the A. Add it up. Minus 56 plus 56 cancel out. A equals 4 plus 6 is 10. 1 plus 5 is 6. She spent $60. We'll see. We'll see about that. All right, let's check to see if that's right. We'll write the original equation. Equals 4. A was 60, according to what we got. 60 minus 56. Now that one, you can kind of see like the difference between 60 and 56 is 4. That seems to check out. All right, so that's how much money Alejandra gave the cashier. So Ali gave the cashier $60. Okay.